this hostility and suspicion about his prophethood by revealing a long series of verses Quran 3:120-200. Regarding the complaint about his earlier assurance of angels' help to Muslims in vanquishing the opponents, Allah put the blame on Muhammad's disciples for their lacking in firmness and patience, revealing, "Remember thou said to the faithful, is it not enough for you that Allah should help you with 3,000 angels, specially, sent down? Yet, if ye remain firm, and act aright, even if the enemy should rush here on you in hot haste, your Lord would help you with 5,000 angels making a terrific onslaught." Quran 3:224-25. Allah insisted that he truly had helped Muslims in the earlier battle at Badr when they had feared defeat, and for that, they should express gratitude to him. Remember two of your parties, amongst Muslims, meditated cowardice, in Badr, but Allah was their protector, and in Allah should the faithful, ever, put their trust. Allah had helped you at Badr, when ye were a contemptible little force, then fear Allah, thus may ye show your gratitude. Quran 3:122-23. Allah also blamed the Muslim fighters for not paying heed to Muhammad's command, which, he held, was responsible for their latest defeat at Uhud, when ye climbed the hill, and paid no heed to anyone, while the messenger, in your rear, was calling you, to fight. Therefore he rewarded you grief for, his, grief, that, he might teach, you not to sorrow either for that which ye missed or for that which befell you. Quran 3:153. Further, Allah cited examples of his earlier prophets and their disciples before Muhammad, who had steadfastly fought in his cause without ever losing heart, and urged Muhammad's followers to do likewise. How many of the prophets fought, in Allah's way, and with them, fought, large bands of godly men? But they never lost heart if they met with disaster in Allah's way, nor did they weaken, in will, nor give in. And Allah loves those who are firm and steadfast. Quran 3:146. About those who were slain at Uhud, Allah revealed verses to console their kinsfolk and comrades that they were, in reality, not dead but in a trance, and that they had landed in paradise where they were rejoicing. Think not of those who are slain in Allah's way as dead. Nay, they live, finding their sustenance in the presence of their Lord. They rejoice in the bounty provided by Allah, and with regard to those left behind, who have not yet joined them, in their bliss, they, martyrs, glory in the fact that on them is no fear, nor have they, cause to, grieve. Quran 3:169-70. Meanwhile in August 625, some 5 months after the Battle of Uhud, Muhammad attacked the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir of Medina and again exiled them, described below. But having learned a lesson in the disastrous Battle of Uhud against the powerful Quraysh, Muhammad stopped his raids on Meccan caravans for some time. The Quraysh did not follow up after their victorious campaign of Uhud any further. Since Muhammad had stopped raiding their caravans, they possibly thought that he had learned a lesson and posed no further threats. In the meantime, Muhammad took time to consolidate his power by increasing his converts and material support, captured from exiled Banu Qaynuqa and Nadir tribes, see below. After a respite of about 1 year, he resumed his raids on Meccan caravans in April 626. Increasingly successful raids on rich caravans started making Muslims very rich in spoils, camels, and slaves. At this point, seeking to strengthen his plundering brigands, Muhammad had invited nearby non-Muslim tribes to join his raids. Some non-Muslim tribes joined his plundering forays, likely for twin reasons, the greed for the booty and for their own protection from Muhammad's raids. By this time, Muhammad had attacked and exiled 2 powerful Jewish tribes of Medina, which clearly suggests that those non-Muslim tribes faced a real danger of being attacked by Muhammad if they refused his call. The Battle of the Ditch, Trench. The resumption of raids on Meccan caravans sent a clear message that Muhammad's threat to the Quraysh was far from over. Abu Sufyan, therefore, made preparation in April 627 to launch another counterattack for putting an end to Muhammad's threats. He appealed to neighboring tribes to join hands, and many of them, including Banu Ghatafan, Banu Sulaim, and Banu Asad, who had already swerved from Muhammad's attacks, responded to his call. A huge Confederate force of 10,000 men, some say 7,000, assembled behind Abu Sufyan. Muhammad had a capacity to assemble, at best, 3,000 men on his side at this time, and the situation looked grave for his community. Fortunately for Muhammad, he had obtained a Persian convert, the famous Salman the Persian, who gave Muhammad the idea of digging a trench around his abode in Medina. This was a common strategy for fending off enemy attacks in Persia, but unknown amongst Arabs. Muhammad instantly grabbed the idea and ordered digging a deep trench around the perimeter of his community. The outer walls of houses were fortified by stones, entrenching Muslims inside. The Quraysh laid a siege on the city. But unfamiliar with the tactic, they failed to overcome the trench. After a long siege, extending beyond 20 days, some say nearly 1 month, the Meccan army withdrew. There was not much fighting during the siege. Muhammad's side lost only 5 men, while the Meccan side lost 3. Salman, a Christian converted from Zoroastrianism before converting to Islam, whose advice saved the day, was duly appreciated by Muhammad, expressing gratitude to him and his community for their depth of knowledge. XXXVIII. As soon as the Quraysh withdrew from the siege, Muhammad accused Banu Qurayza, the last Jewish tribe in Medina, of assisting the Quraysh and attacked them. When the Jews surrendered, he slaughtered the men and enslaved the women and children, described below. The conquest of Mecca and capture of the Kaaba. By 628, Muhammad had either evicted or annihilated all the powerful Jewish tribes of Medina and brought many small tribes of surrounding regions to submission through threats or attacks. He had now become powerful enough to vie for the capture of his ancestral city of Mecca and the Kaaba therein, on which he had laid a claim very early in his prophetic mission. Furthermore, it was the Kaaba toward XXI Exhibit, P120-122, IBN Ishaq, P456-61, Muir, P306-14, which his community in Medina had been turning for years whilst saying prayers. The Kaaba had thus become the most sacred symbol of his religious mission and the biggest prize to be captured. The Kaaba also had a big economic significance, as it is to the Saudis today, because, as the center of pilgrimage, namely the Umrah and Hajj for the people of Arabia, it was a coveted revenue-generating venture. Moreover, Allah had dedicated so much effort and space in the Quran for fighting and defeating the Quraysh. Bringing Mecca to submission had therefore become the central mission of Muhammad's prophetic career. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah, in March 628, about 1 year after the Battle of the Ditch and 6 years after his relocation from Mecca, Muhammad dared marching toward his ancestral city. He invited the surrounding tribes to join his campaign, but his invitation to this dangerous venture was declined. Muhammad marched toward Mecca at the head of some 1,300 to 1,525 armed Muslims during the lesser pilgrimage, Umrah. The Quraysh learned of Muhammad's approach and swore not to allow him enter their city another time, because of the terrible bloodbath, humiliation, and hardships he had caused to them. When Muhammad was apprised of the determination of the Quraysh, he stopped and set up tents at a place called Hudaybiyah. He sent forth a message to Mecca that he had come only to perform pilgrimage peacefully and then would return to Medina. Muhammad was determined to perform the pilgrimage, to which the Quraysh were adamantly opposed. Given consideration to Muhammad's military power and capacity to engage in cruelty and bloodbath, the Quraysh decided to negotiate with him in order to avoid a bloody confrontation. At one point in the course of the intense bargaining that followed, Uthman, Muhammad's son-in-law and the third caliph of Islam, went to the Meccan camp for negotiation. It was taking time for Uthman to return, and a rumor spread in the Muslim camp that he had been killed. Muhammad quickly assembled his armed comrades under an acacia tree and bounded them one by a pledge to stand by Uthman to the death. This oath became known as the famous Pledge of the Tree in Islamic annals. Muhammad had excited his followers' religious fervor in the camp to such a degree that all of them were in a suicidal mood to rush upon the enemy at once. Just about this time, Uthman returned to the camp, avoiding a sheer bloodbath. Othman returned with the final terms of the treaty and a truce was signed, the famous Treaty of Hudaybiyah. It demanded cessation of hostility from both sides for a 10-year period. It also stipulated that Muhammad's party would return to Medina, this time without visiting the Kaaba, but they would be allowed to perform annual pilgrimage to the Kaaba for 3 days from the following year. XXXIX. Here, seeing the determined opposition of the Quraysh, Muhammad pretended that he had come for the pilgrimage, not war. But his original intention was to occupy Mecca. As Ibn Ishaq writes, the Apostle's companions had gone out without any doubt of occupying Mecca because of the vision which the Apostle had seen, and when they saw the negotiations for peace and a withdrawal going on and what the Apostle had taken on himself, they felt depressed almost to the point of XXIX Muir, p. 353-59, Ibn Ishaq, p. 505. Death XL. The signing of the treaty meekly, instead of taking on the Quraysh in a violent confrontation, caused anger amongst some Muslims, including bloodthirsty Omar. However, Muhammad assured them that he was under the instruction of Allah to conclude this treaty and it would bring eventual benefit to his party. Allah took the pain of revealing an entire surah, chapter 48 of the Quran, Surah Al-Fath or Victory, to convince Muhammad's party that this treaty was actually more appropriate under the situation and tantamount to a victory, and that the decisive victory would come soon. Muhammad's breach of the treaty. It took very little time for Muhammad's party to breach the treaty. Abu Bashir, a convert from Mecca, soon killed a Quraysh violating the treaty. He went on to form a raiding brigand consisting of some 70 Muslim marauders, and they, with connivance of Muhammad, engaged in attacking Meccan caravans, sparing none of the attendants alive. Ibn Ishaq records of Abu Bahr's actions. Then Abu Basir went until he halted at Allies in the region of Dhul Marwa by the seashore on the road which Quraysh were accustomed to take to Syria. About 70 men attached themselves to him, and they so harried Quraysh, killing everyone they could get hold of and cutting to pieces every caravan that passed them. The helpless Quraysh gave up on the treaty. Instead, they begged Muhammad by the ties of kinship to stop his men from attacking the caravans. After the request, Muhammad brought his raiders back to Medina. A few women converts, who were held up by their families, escaped from Mecca to join Muhammad's community in Medina. They were supposed to be returned according to the treaty. In total disregard of the treaty, Muhammad refused to return them when the Quraysh came to take them back to Mecca. Muhammad throws away the treaty and attacks Mecca. In 2 years after the signing of the Hudaybiyah Treaty, Muhammad's army had become strong enough to overrun the Quraysh. Therefore, he altogether threw away the 10-year treaty and ordered preparations for attacking Mecca. He wanted to take the Quraysh by surprise. As preparations went on, he kept praying to Allah, "O Allah, take eyes and ears from the Quraysh so that we may take them by surprise in their land." In January 630, he marched toward Mecca at the head of a 10,000 strong army. The invincible Muslim army approached near Mecca at night and camped at a place called Mar al-Zarin. In the darkness of the night, each fighter lighted a fire to show to the Quraysh a glimpse of the huge Muslim army that had assembled. Catching sight of Muhammad's force, his uncle Al-Abbas, who had joined the Muslim camp a while earlier, said, "Alas, Quraysh, if the Apostle enters Mecca by force before they come and ask for protection, that will be the end of the Quraysh." Ibn Ishaq, p. 505. Sli Ibn Ishaq, p. 50709, Muir, p. 364-65. Sli Ibn Ishaq, p. 544. Forever Sli'in. Before proceeding further, let us investigate the controversy as to who truly breached the treaty. Who truly breached the Hudaybiyah Treaty? Daniel Pipes, who is hated by Muslims for his objective views on Islam, claims that Muhammad did not breach the treaty, but technically the Quraysh did. He writes, Muhammad was technically within his rights to abrogate the treaty, for the Quraysh, or at least their allies, had broken the terms Sliv. His views fit well with the standard Islamic position that it was the Meccans who broke the treaty XLV. This alleged breach of the treaty by the Quraysh relates to an ongoing feud between two third-party tribes, Banu Bakr and Banu Huzayl. Banu Bakr was an ally of the Quraysh, while Banu Huzayl was of Muhammad. According to Al-Tabari, prior to Muhammad's coming to the scene, a merchant named Malik bin Abad of Banu Bakr on his trade journey was attacked by Banu Huzayl, killed him and took his property. In retaliation, Banu Bakr killed a man from Banu Huzayl. In their second turn of attack, Banu Huzayl killed three brothers Salma, Kulthum, and Dhuayb, the leading men of Banu Bakr. In the counter-retaliation, Banu Bakr killed a Banu Huzayl man, named Munabih, in which a few Quraysh had allegedly assisted Banu Bakr in the darkness of night. Sylvie. This time, Banu Huzayl had become Muhammad's Mawla, confederate. Hence, the Quraysh, according to scholars like Pipes, breached the Hudaybiyah Treaty and Muhammad was legally justified in attacking Mecca. The first thing ignored here is that the Huzayl tribe was the instigator of the feud with Banu Bakr. Huzayl had attacked Banu Bakr twice and killed 4 men. Prior to the latest attack, Banu Bakr had attacked Banu Huzayl only once, killing 1 man. Even after the latest attack, Huzayl had killed 4 Banu Bakr men, while the latter had killed only 2 of their opponents. Muhammad's confederates had a surplus of killing 2 extra men. Slayeen Ibid, p. 547. Slip Pipes d. 2002, Militant Islam Comes to America, W. W. Norton and Company, New York, p. 185. XLV The Taking of Makkah, Ministry of Hajj, Saudi Arabia, http://www.hajinformation.com/main/b2109.htm. Sylvie Altaver, Vol. 6, p. 160-62.